Welcome back to PSC's Tech Bytes. Today I want to share with you how you can easily create a Power Automate flow in order to invite a guest into your tenant and share a folder in SharePoint Online for the sake of uploading documents or stuff like that. In fact, in Microsoft Graph, we have the invitations endpoint that we can use to make a post and to create an invitation for a guest in our tenant. We can also use Power Automate to create a folder or share a folder or make an HTTP request. And as such, we can easily create a complete flow to manage the invitation of a guest and the sharing of a folder with that guest. That said, let me move to the demo environment and let me show you how you can do that in practice. So let's start having a look at the actual scenario in action, and then we will see how I implemented it. So let's assume that we have a list, a Microsoft list of suppliers, and I want to create a new supplier because I want to invite this supplier to access a folder inside a document library that I have in the same SharePoint Online site collection. So let me click New and create a new supplier. I will provide a title, which can be supplier02. I can use a fake email address using one of the services to get a fake email address like this one, and I will use this email address for my guest account, and I click on Save. In a matter of few seconds from now, I will see that a new folder will be created in the supplier documents document library, as well as my external user will get an invitation to join as a guest my target tenant. It usually takes a few seconds to get the email, and in the meantime we can just wait for it to show up. Here we are. I've got two email messages, one with the invitation to join the tenant as a guest, and another one to access the folder that was created and shared with me. So let's start with the invitation. This is a text that we can configure. I can click on Accept Invitation, and I will go through the process through which I will be able to accept my invitation. So first of all, I will have to provide a password for my user. And just for the sake of making an example, I will use a very simple password. I will provide the description, which could be supplier02, and I can click on Next. I will get back a verification code from Azure Active Directory. So if I will go back to my mailbox, I can see that I have another email here with the verification code that I need to copy and paste in my sign up UI. Once I've done that, in a matter of few seconds, I will be redirected to some other Azure Active Directory pages in order to accept the access as a guest to the target tenant, and then I will be redirected to a website that I can configure, and in my scenario it will be the website of my company. Here we are. I have to confirm my credentials and eventually enable the multi-factor authentication, which I will skip for now, just for the sake of demo purposes. I will keep my user sign in, and I will have to accept to access the target tenant that I'm becoming a guest of. So I will accept the terms and the permissions, and I will be redirected, as I told you, to the company website of my company, just for the sake of making an example. And so now my user, my guest user, has been invited and accepted the invitation. Now I can go to the share folder, so to this other email that I've got. I can open in a new tab the folder. I will have to provide the email address for authentication purposes just the very first time, and I will have to provide the verification code that I will get again and one more time in my inbox. This is of course configurable based on your tenant settings, so you can define the behavior that you want to use from a sharing security point of view. Here is the email with the verification code. Let me copy and paste it in the form. I can say keep me signed in this folder and in this session. And now I can see that I have access to the supplier02 folder. I can even upload files in this folder if I want, because I shared this folder with write permission. So let me get a document, let me upload the document into the target folder. Here we are. And if I go back to the main site, I can see that now I have the supplier02 folder, and inside of that one I have my document uploaded. So everything works like charm. Now let's see how I implemented it. First of all, I'm relying on the create invitation endpoint that we have in Microsoft Graph. So you see, you need to make a post request targeting the /invitations endpoint, and you will have to provide a JSON request which will define the invitation. As such, I created an application in Azure Active Directory. I registered an application for which I have a client ID. I configured a client secret to work with application only permissions, and in the API permission section, I granted the user.invite.all permission for application level to my registered application. So then I have a flow right here, and we can see how the flow is defined. Well, when an item is created, so when a new supplier is created in the target list, I simply get the item from SharePoint Online. I create a folder in SharePoint Online in the supplier's document library, providing as the name of the folder the title of the supplier. I initialize the client secret variable, and then I make an HTTP request targeting the Microsoft Graph. So I make a post to the invitation endpoint of Graph v1. I will provide an application JSON content type for my request, and inside the request I will say, okay, this is the email address of the target user that I want to invite. So the email address configured in the item that I just got from SharePoint Online. Then this will be the URL where I will redirect the user after the acceptance of the invitation. I will send the invitation message, and inside the message there will be a custom text, which is the one I showed you before. If I will show the advanced option, I'm using Azure Active Directory Open Authorization. I'm targeting my tenant, and the audience that I want to consume is Microsoft Graph, clearly. This is the client ID of the application that I registered, and I'm authenticating with app only using the client secret that I registered before in Azure Active Directory. Once I've done that, I can grant access to that folder, the one that got created, based on the ID of the created folder. So this ID is the ID of the folder that I created right here. And I'm granting the edit permission to the supplier email, so to the account that was invited as a guest in my tenant. Of course, in a real flow, you will have to take care of exceptions, providing try-catch, providing email notifications, and stuff like that. But this was just a simple example, just for the sake of sharing the idea with you. Like always, thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it interesting, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you next week. And remember, subscribe to this channel. Thank you.